answering questions, excuse me, and dealing with technical problems. My name is Lisa Balbus. I am an ACS career consultant and have been for, I think, going on 20 years now. So I have a little bit of experience at helping my fellow chemists find jobs and manage their careers. And what we're going to talk about today is focusing your job search. And so actually some strategies that chemistry professionals can use to not only figure out what job is appropriate for you, what the next step should be in your career, but then also how to go out and find those jobs. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. I want to thank all of you for attending. You should all be muted at this point, so you can talk as much as you want, but I won't be able to hear you. That helps keep the audio quality on this webinar in better shape. Also, if you have questions during the session, you can type them into the question panel, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. Okay.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, and we've heard our operator say that, as I said, y'all are in listen-only or muted mode. So if you have questions, type them into the questions panel over on the right-hand side of your screen, and either Leon or I will try to answer them. And I actually already see one question about the copies of the slides, and the copies of the slides are not available on the website, so you'll just have to pay attention to what's on the screen. The recording excuse me, of the entire webinar will be posted online at some point, and we can let you know at the end when and where that's going to happen. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully y'all can see my slides now. And as I said, what we're going to talk about today is focusing your job search, trying to figure out what it is you want to do, and then finding a job and a career path that will allow you to do that. So as with any search, it's much easier to find something if you know what it is you're looking for. So you want to start by figuring out what is it that you want? What is it that you're trying to get to in the next step in your career? So we're going to start off with a little exercise. Start thinking about what is the kind of position that you're looking for as your next step. This might be what you would have on your resume, for example, as a job objective. So a little short description of what it is you're looking for as far as your job goes. And if you want to go ahead and type that into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel, we'll be able to see those, and we'll kind of share those with some other people. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. A lot of times when I'm doing career consulting with people, I sit down to talk to somebody. I say, okay, tell me about yourself. What kind of job are you looking for? And they say, well, I just want a job. I just need a job. That's all I want. And I say, well, McDonald's down the street is hiring. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want a fast food job. I'm like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more about what it is you actually do want. It's much easier for me to help you if I know what you want, and it's much easier for you to find something if you know what you're looking for. Okay, we have a couple of people who've started putting things in here in the question panel. Someone who would like to teach and do research in an academic environment. So that looks like somebody who's looking for an academic position, maybe a professorship. We have another person who is looking to pursue a teaching position at a college level where they don't want to do research. So very interesting distinction there. Where somebody doesn't want to do research, they're probably looking at maybe a primarily undergraduate institution, although actually even a lot of those do research, so they may be looking at a community college or something like that. We're seeing someone wants to work as a green organic chemist for a pharmaceutical company. We have another person who wants to maintain a synthetic medicinal chemistry position in industry somewhere within the United States. So some people have geographic restrictions as to what they're looking for. Okay, so there's a number of different job descriptions that have been put in there. We'll talk about some more of these throughout the course of this workshop. Okay, so when you look at your objective, what you've come up with and what some of these other people have put in, you want to think about how specific is your objective. And there's kind of 4 different levels that are outlined on this slide here. And if we start at type 1, which is the most specific, this is very specific. This would be specific about both the job title and the company. For example, somebody might say, well, I want to be, VP of research at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. Well, that's a great objective. That's very specific. It's very easy to find out about that job, to find out what the requirements are for that job. But there's only one of those jobs, and I don't think the guy who has it now is quite ready to give it up and let somebody else take it over right now. So that might be a little too specific. Generally, where you want your objective to be is kind of in this area of type 2 or type 3, where you're fairly specific about the job area and the type of the company that you want to work for, but not so specific as to be, one specific company. For example, you might say you want to be a R&D technologist in a chemicals company working in nanotechnology. Or if you're not really sure what you want to do, it may be, well, I want a job in a large chemical company doing analytical chemistry, but as applied to what, you might be a little bit more open to that. And then finally, the type 4 objectives are the, I want a job in chemistry. That's better than saying you just want a job, but it's really not specific enough to let somebody else help you. Okay? There's, again, there's advantages and disadvantages to each kind of objective. If it's very specific, it lets people know exactly what you're looking for, and it's easy for them to help you find that and to know what to be looking out for on your behalf. If your objective is a little bit more on the vague or the general side, you get to kind of keep some more of your options open, and that's especially good if you don't really know what you're looking for yet. So you kind of want to keep this in mind and figure out, well, do you know exactly what you're looking for, or are you at the point where you're just kind of exploring options and trying to narrow down what would be an appropriate objective for you? Okay. So what we're going to talk about for the rest of the morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, is planning your job search. And there's a number of different pieces to this. Part of this is knowing the market. You have to know what's out there, where the jobs are. It would be great if your objective was that you wanted to be a buggy whip manufacturer. These days, there's not really a lot of call for that. So knowing the market, knowing if there's a call for that particular job type is important. The second part of planning a job search is knowing yourself, not only knowing what you want, but knowing your values, your talents, what you have to offer a potential employer. So we'll talk about that. And then finally, we'll talk about the job search tools and the things that are out there that are going to help you put these two pieces together and find something that you're able to do, that you're excited about doing, that is of value in the marketplace today. Okay, so we're going to start off by talking about, again, what's out there. What are some of the trends in the job market these days? Where are we seeing jobs and opportunities appearing, and where are we seeing them disappearing? We'll move on to talking about yourself and talking about your personal values, which is something that a lot of people don't always think about when they're looking at their job search, but that can be very important. We'll then talk about how you put these two pieces together and some of the tools that you use to find job opportunities. And then finally, one of my favorite topics, networking, and how to use your professional network, your contacts, and use other people to find information, ideas, and to get introductions to other people who may be able to open opportunities for you. Okay, so these are kind of all the topics that we're going to talk about over the course of the next 50 minutes or so. Okay, so what are some of the job trends? What changes are we seeing in the employment marketplace, especially for chemists? Unfortunately, you're probably all familiar with the fact that right now we're seeing a little bit slower than average job growth in the market. I don't think that's going to really surprise anybody. A lot of the demand that we're seeing is coming from a few specific places. There's a lot of demand coming from biotechnology firms. The biotechs are have been started in the last few years, a lot of them. They're starting to ramp up. Some of them are starting to get products that are pretty close to market or even on the market. So there's a lot of opportunity in biotech companies, especially for scientists who have an understanding of biology as well as chemistry. We're seeing some increase in opportunities because of governmental and environmental regulations. We're seeing significant increases in the amount of hiring by the government, and also a lot of interest in green chemistry and sustainability by a number of different companies. So chemists who have expertise in these particular areas are in demand. We're seeing predictions of more employment opportunities in traditional energy sources and also in alternative energy sources, ways of bringing new energy online, and especially with what's happening in the news in the Gulf. That's a very hot area right now. And what's been popular for a little while, nanotechnology and material sciences, we're not hearing so much about that anymore, but it's kind of being incorporated into a lot of other things. So while job growth overall is a little slower than it has been in the past, there are some areas that are seeing significant growth. Overall, we're seeing, again, the slow recovery of our economy from the disasters of the recent past. We're seeing cautious hiring by companies. They are starting to hire, but they're being very slow about it. Some of the ways they're kind of hedging their bets are increasing their use of contractors and contract research organizations. So they're not hiring staff as much as outsourcing things or using contractors and contract agencies so that they can ramp up quickly and they can let people go quickly. So while there's not as much hiring in the companies themselves, there are lots of opportunities in these contract research organizations, for example. So the work still needs to be done. It's just being done other places. We're also seeing lots of international partnerships, companies starting up offices overseas or cooperating and forming partnerships with other countries to get more into the global marketplace. Some of the things that we're seeing in human resources, we're seeing a significant increase in the use of social media, things like especially LinkedIn, but even Facebook, MySpace, and Twitter to find candidates. So they're not looking for resumes so much anymore, but they're going out and looking for passive candidates for people who have expertise in a particular area, but who are not necessarily looking for a job. They're trying to find those passive candidates and then entice them into their companies. And we're seeing more of an emphasis on the soft skills, so not only the laboratory skills, but the leadership and communication and other soft skills, and the use of competency models, excuse me, to identify what those soft skills are that they're looking for. A lot of this information comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which you can see at bls.gov. And that's a great place to keep an eye on, and they have reports on a regular basis that talk about trends, where there's increased hiring, where there's decreased hiring. So this is something that you should keep an eye on throughout your career so you're aware of these things and not surprised. Okay? The BLS issued a report in December of '09, and again, they listed some areas, particularly for chemists, some areas of increasing demand and some areas of decreasing demand. No surprise, the increasing demand is in all the biotech companies, so biochemical, biomedical, biophysical, et cetera. For those of you not familiar, biomass involves the conversion of non-food plant materials and animal waste into use as fuel. So this is kind of a combination of biotechnology and alternative energies. So you're trying to take things such as corn stalks and corn husks and turning that into ethanol or something else that can be used as fuel instead of using the actual corn, which could be used for food. As I said, we're also seeing increasing demand in environmental areas in terms of sustainability, lots of increasing employment in the federal agencies. Sales representatives, the pharmaceutical companies have been laying people off, but the biotech companies who are just getting to the point where they have products to market are having a hard time finding people who understand the technology and can serve as sales representatives for biotech products. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Excuse me. And again, the energy technologies are seeing an increase in demand for people who can help with that. Decreasing demand, what we've seen, again, in the recent past, a little bit of decrease in mining, quarrying, gas extraction, and in manufacturing and production, as a lot of that is moving overseas. Okay, so this is just kind of the highlights of some of the trends that we've seen recently. Some of the ways that you can keep on top of these trends so that you're not surprised by these things. The ACS has job fairs twice a year at each national meeting, and there are talks there, workshops, also lots of people there who know what's going on with employment trends for chemists. Chemical and Engineering News has articles on a regular basis on career topics, and in the November issue each year, they publish the results of the annual salary survey. So that will be coming out shortly. And that is a good picture of what's going on over the past year. As I mentioned earlier, the U.S. Department of Labor, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's their job to keep track of all those things. So if you go to BLS.gov, you can look up chemists, chemical engineers, and look at their statistics on what's going on. BLS also does 10-year predictions for what they think the future of the field is going to be. So those can be useful to read as well. The last long-term one they published was in 2008, so we're still kind of waiting for that to be revised a little bit because we suspect recent events will change their predictions. But all of these are good sources, and there are lots more out there, and you need to be aware of these trends and keep an eye out for them so that you can be retooling yourself and, excuse me, learning the new skills and the new techniques and the new technologies that you're going to need as the marketplace shifts. Okay? So having talked about these just a little bit, it's one of the things that you need to do when you're in a job search or when you're thinking about moving to a new job is to temper what you'd like to do with the reality of what's out there. So we're going to do a little bit of an activity right now and give you a chance to kind of share what you know with some of the other people who are on this call. So again, using the questions panel in the control panel, go ahead and type in what are some of the trends that you're seeing in your particular geographic area. Are you seeing increasing or decreasing opportunities in particular areas wherever you are? Looking at the trends that I talked about over the last few slides, is there anything there that maybe has affected your thinking about what you might be looking for or what strategies you would be using to find jobs? Okay, so I'll give you a couple minutes to start typing some of the trends that you're seeing into the questions area. And again, make sure to identify what geographic area you're talking about because there are differences in different geographic areas. For example, I'm in St. Louis, and here obviously we've had lots of big layoffs recently from Pfizer. They've let a lot of chemists and a lot of other people go. On the other side, we've seen a significant increase in the number of biotech companies in this area. We actually have several biotech incubators that have sprung up recently. And so there's a lot of small companies, and a lot of the chemists who've been laid off from Pfizer are starting to find opportunities in some of those smaller biotech companies. And I think that's been happening in other places as well, but it's nice to see it specifically in this area. So let's go see. We have some people who put in some trends. In the San Francisco Bay Area, Mauricio is saying that biotech opportunities for chemists in med chem and process chemistry have been shrinking in the past few years, and things have been getting worse. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Around the Boston area, we're seeing that there are increasing opportunities for chemists with expertise in green technologies, and they're actually preferring synthetic chemists over medicinal chemists in that particular area of the country. And I think both of these are things that we've seen in other places as well. In the Boston area, again, another person is saying that there's a lot of biotech and pharmaceutical companies there, but it seems that they are disproportionately recruiting people from Harvard to work in those companies. Okay. Let's see what else we have in here. In upstate New York, Albany area, there kind of the same. It hasn't seen a lot of change lately. There was not a lot of chemical industry before, and there's still not a lot of opportunity. They're building a semiconductor plant, so there may be some opportunity for chemists when that comes online. And let's just do one more. In the Philadelphia metro area, they're seeing fewer opportunities, especially for experienced chemists, but a lot of 6-month and 12-month contract work is becoming available. And again, I think a lot of these trends we've seen all across the country. We're seeing, as I said earlier, significantly increased use of contractors and temporary workers. Again, the good news is there's opportunities there. It's not quite as good as a traditional permanent job, but some of those do turn into permanent jobs, so you shouldn't be, afraid to take those anymore. Okay, so you can see that kind of, what's out there, what's going on in the bigger picture is going to affect where you're going to be able to look and to find a job. So you need to be aware of these things. You need to talk to other people. You need to read articles and keep track of what's going on in the industry as a whole so that you know where you're going to fit into that. Okay, so we're going to move on now to the next part, and we're going to talk about your personal values. We've talked about kind of what's out there in the marketplace and how important that is to know where you're going to be able to fit. So let's talk a little bit about you and how important it is to know yourself. Personal values are something, everyone has values. All of these 6 values that are listed on these slides are important to everyone, but the relative importance is going to be different for different people. And the relative importance of these different values is going to change as you move through your career and through your life. And it's important to understand what is most important to you at this particular stage in your life. What do I need to get out of my job in order to be happy? And do my values match this company that I'm thinking about working for? A lot of people don't think about this when they're in the middle of a job search. So let's go through these values very quickly. These are the 6 that ACS has. If you do a web search on personal values, you'll find all kinds of other lists. There's no real definitive list. It's just kind of thinking about what are things that might be important to you as a person. The first one listed on here is advancement. So how important is it to you to have opportunities for promotion, to be recognized by other people at your company as doing a good job, to get increases in salary on a regular basis? So is that external validation of your work important to you, that other people can see you advancing? Another value is autonomy. How important is it to you to be able to control your own work? Do you like somebody else telling you what to do and not quite micromanaging, but really keeping an eye on what you're doing? Or do you prefer to be given a problem and then just left alone to run with it? So how important to you is it that you're autonomous in your work? Challenge is another value. If someone comes to you and they give you a problem and they say, nobody else in the company has been able to solve this problem, here you go, it's your turn. Does that excite you, and are you driven to then overcome that because nobody's ever been able to do that before? Or do you say, well, if nobody can do it, then I'm not going to do it, and you don't want to have anything to do with it? So is it important to you that you have challenge in your work? Security is another value. How important is it to you that you know you're going to have that paycheck every month or every 2 weeks? Is it important to you that the company that you're working for, you're going to be able to stay there for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? Security has changed a lot over the past few decades. As companies become less stable, people are starting to get security from other things, but some people, security is very important to them. They want to make sure they're going to have that paycheck on a regular basis. Balance is probably the value that changes the most over the course of your career. This is being able to have balance between your personal and your professional lives. When you're single in school, it may not matter a whole lot. Once you start having children, or if you start having elderly parents that you need to take care of, it may become more important that you're able to go in late one day or take time off in the middle of the day to take a parent to a doctor's appointment or something like that. So how important is balance to you at this point in your career? And the last one listed here is altruism. How important is it to you that what you're doing in your job contributes to the welfare of others? Do you really want to work for a pharmaceutical company because you're going to be able to improve the health of people in the world overall? Is that incredibly important to you, and you're willing maybe to work for a lower salary in order to do that? Rarely is one of these, completely overriding. Usually there's a cluster of 2 or 3 that you say are most important, and the others are kind of less important. As I said, they're going to change over the course of your career. But it's important to know what matters the most to you right now and to make sure that you're going to be able to get that from your job or get your needs met in some other way. If your values don't match the company's values, you're going to end up unhappy over time. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a quick poll. And I'm going to start a poll right here, okay? And you should be able to view the poll, I hope, and be able to click on the 2 values that you think are the most important to you at this particular stage in your career. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes to do that, but pick the 2 values that are most important to you right now. And I know there's 5 on there, and I talked about 6, but that's a limitation of the software. Okay, so about half of you have voted, and the numbers are changing. And a lot of times the numbers that we get out of this will differ depending on the composition of the audience. Like I said, different things are important at different points in your career. Okay. All right, so it looks like the voting is slowing down, so let's go ahead and show the results. Okay, and I'm hoping you can see those. It looks like the value that was most important excuse me, to the majority of you was balance, and slightly over half of you picked balance as the most important thing right now in your lives. So it's important to you to work for a company that respects that. And when you're investigating possible companies to work for, you want to look at things like, do they have flex time? Do they have flexible hours? Maybe do they have on-site daycare? You want to talk to people at the companies and find out, do they really have family-friendly policies, or are they just on the books? If you take advantage, for example, of paternal leave for something, are you going to be punished for doing that later on? So you want to find out if the policies are just on the books or if they're really a family-friendly company. It looks like number 2, there's a tie. Both advancement and security are important to a lot of you. Again, security with the instability in the economy and in the world in general these days, a lot of people like that, working for a bigger company that they know is going to be around for a while, so they have that security of a steady paycheck. A lot of people believe that, for example, federal government work is the most stable. It can be difficult to get. It can take a long time to get in there, but the federal government's probably not going out of business anytime soon, so jobs there tend to be very stable and secure over the long run. And advancement is also very important to a lot of you. You want to see that you're moving ahead in your career, that you're making progress, and that's not unusual. Okay? All right. So as you think about these things, and I said, over the course of your career, these values will change. Different things will become important to you. And so it may be, at some point you may be unhappy with a company that you've been working with for a long time just because your values have shifted and the companies have not. Or maybe the companies have and yours haven't. So if you're unhappy, in your present position, you may think about, is it a mismatch in values? And that may be something that you're unable to reconcile, and you may have to go look for a company that's going to better match your values. Okay? So there's those definitions again. Okay? So now we've talked about both what's out there in the job market overall, so where the opportunities are. We've talked about learning about what's important to you. You know what your skills are. You know what your abilities are. You know what your knowledge areas are. Now you know what your personal values are as well. So you give them some thought to what's important to you. So now we're going to talk about how to put those two things together and actually find another opportunity. Okay? So the easiest thing to do is look for the posted jobs. These are the jobs that somebody's written up a job description and put it out there in the public, and they're soliciting applications. They're looking for resumes. So some places that you can find these are, for example, company websites. Pretty much every company posts their openings on their websites, and most of them want you to apply through that venue. Professional societies. The ACS has a jobs database that has all kinds of jobs specifically for chemists and chemical engineers. So that can be a great place to go look for those kinds of jobs, these specialized niche markets. Professional publications, Chemical and Engineering News has job ads in the back. Science has job ads. If you're looking for academic positions, the Chronicle of Higher Education publishes a lot of those. Electronic bulletin boards are incredibly popular these days. There's a few of them listed here. Indeed.com is the one that we've seen a lot of success with lately because it's an aggregator, so it actually searches a number of other job boards and then aggregates all of those results into one place. So that's probably the one that we've seen the most success with lately. Trade shows, technical meetings, go to ACS national meetings and go not only to the career fair areas, but also go to the expo hall and talk to the companies that are there and find out if they're hiring. Campus interviews, if you're still a student, there are probably companies that come to your school to do on-campus interviews and to do career fairs, so companies that are hiring. These are, the easy published posted jobs. So these are the easy jobs to find. That's the good news, is that these jobs are easy to find. And you've got a job description. You know exactly what they're looking for. The disadvantages of these kinds of jobs is that if they're easy for you to find, they're easy for everybody else to find too. So there's a lot of competition for these posted jobs. So the other kind of jobs that are out there are the hidden jobs. Okay? These are jobs that are not advertised. They're not posted on a company's website. And there's a number of reasons why that might happen. It could be that the manager is just too busy and he hasn't had time to sit down and write a job description. He's too busy trying to do the work to figure out, okay, what qualities do I need in somebody who could come help me? It could be that they've thought about the job, they kind of know they need somebody to do something, but they're at the wrong point in the budget cycle to bring that person on. It's not quite going to happen yet. It could be that their advertising funds are limited. There's a number of reasons why the job may not have been posted or advertised yet. We especially see these at small or startup companies where everybody's trying to do a number of different things, and taking the time to sit down and write a job ad for somebody that they're going to hire is fairly low priority. It also may be that they're looking, especially at small companies, they need kind of generalists, and so they may need 3 people, each of whom can do a couple of different things off a big list. So it's more nebulous exactly what any individual has to have. They just kind of have to have a certain number of different things that would fit in with the company. So small companies are especially a rich source of hidden jobs. Okay. So how do you find these hidden jobs, these jobs that aren't advertised? And this brings us to my favorite topic, which is networking. Okay? Networking has a really bad reputation, but it's really not a bad thing. Networking is really just talking to people. If you want to know, for example, if you're thinking about going out to a movie Friday night and you want to find out if the movies are any good or not, what do? You go ask your friends, hey, have you seen this movie? Is it any good? Do you think I'd like it? Networking is the same thing, just on a professional level. It's talking to people about, hey, I've heard about this new field. What is that? Do you think I have the skills to do that? What do people in that field really do? Where are the opportunities? So it's really just paying attention to your professional contacts and using that information to help you in your job search and moving to the next level in your career. Networking is an incredibly effective way not only to find jobs that may exist but haven't been advertised yet, but also to create jobs. A lot of times you may talk to somebody, when you get to the right person, they'll say, you know, we've always wanted to do something in that field, but we've never, you know, had the right combination of people and resources. Would you like to come on and start something in that area? And jobs are created like that more often than you would think. So it does happen on a regular basis. So networking is an incredibly effective way of not only finding jobs that aren't advertised, but actually of getting people to get to know you and to create jobs for you. There's a number of different places where you can network. You can network anywhere, but probably the most effective places to network professionally are going to be the places where there are large numbers of chemists, other people in your professional field. Some of the places are listed on this slide. For example, ACS National Meeting. There's going to be a lot of chemists there, maybe about 15,000 of them. Go to sessions that are on topics that you're interested in and talk to not only the presenters afterwards, but talk to the other attendees in the audience. These are people who are also interested in that topic and are working in that field and may have some interesting inside information that you didn't know about. Local section meetings. Again, it's a smaller venue, but you get to know people better, and you can find out what's going on in your geography and what companies are splitting, or maybe what companies are starting up or moving into the area. So that can be a great way to learn about things. If you're still in school, on campus, you can establish contacts through your professors. The career office a lot of times will have a list of alums that are willing to talk to students about career issues. There may be an alumni association that has meetings on a regular basis that you can attend and get to know people. Other places, you know, not related to your profession can be useful as well. Church, communities, civic groups, working, you know, volunteering in other kinds of groups lets you get to know people. They get to know you. They get to know your skills, your abilities, how reliable you are. And if they hear of something, they're going to pass that information along to you. So a lot of times loose connections can be the most productive. People who are too close to you, you know, may not think of you in the same way as people who are a little bit further removed. Okay? So again, let's use the question box. If you have other ideas for places where you might go to try to network with other chemists or other professionals, go ahead and put them in the Q&A box, and we'll share those with the other participants. Okay? As I said, networking has a really bad reputation. People don't want to do it. Networking is not asking someone for a job. It's really just meeting people and building professional connections. So you can try to turn it into a game. If you're going to attend a meeting, for example, or an event, set an objective of meeting 2 new people, just trying to talk to 2 new and interesting people and find out what it is that they do for a living and what it is that they like about it, or maybe a little bit about their company. You want to ask them questions about themselves. Don't spend the whole time talking about you. People love to talk about themselves, and if you keep asking questions, they'll talk about themselves all day, and you can learn a lot of interesting information that way. If you know you're going someplace where you're going to be networking, you want to make sure that you have business cards with you. If your company doesn't provide them, go ahead and go to one of the big office supply stores and get them. You can get them printed very cheaply. So people have your contact information. So after they leave the event, when a week or 2 weeks or a month later something comes up and they'll say, oh yeah, I met this person and that would be just perfect for them, they need to have your contact information. So have business cards with you at all times. And finally, if you find somebody who is really a gold mine of information, somebody who knows, you know, lots of things, somebody that you hit it off with, ask them, you know, say, it's been really wonderful to talk to you. I'd love to follow up on this conversation. Could we meet for coffee? Could we have lunch? Could I give you a call next week? And let me ask you a few, you know, could I ask you a few more questions? So ask to continue that conversation. later on. Okay? The purpose of continuing the conversation or trying to build on that relationship is, first of all, to build your professional network. So you're increasing the number of people who know you, who think highly of you, who will recommend you for positions, and also will be keeping their eyes and ears out for opportunities that might be of interest to you. You want to, again, it may be that you're interested in their company, so this could be a way to signal to them that you're available for jobs and you are interested in their company or their field or their particular area of expertise. If this may be a way to learn more about a company and a particular job position, especially if you've met somebody who has a position that's advertised or has mentioned they know of a position, this could be a way to find out more about them. And this is also a way to find ways to help other people. Networking is not all about getting stuff for you. It's more about developing relationships. You need to be helping other people so that in the future they will help you. So you always want to be looking for things that you can do for them, not just asking for things that they can do for you. As I said earlier, the purpose of the networking conversation is not to ask for a job. That's probably one of the quickest ways to close down the conversation. If you ask for a job and they don't have something available to tell you about, they have to say no. They feel bad because they're not able to help you, and they're going to want to get away from you as quickly as possible. Most people are pretty intelligent, and if you're asking questions about jobs and careers and they know of something, they will tell you about it. So give them that opportunity to help you. Don't put them on the spot. There may be a reason why they're not telling you about an opening. If you think you know of an opening at the company and you want to ask them, well, don't you think I'm right for that position? You're putting them on the spot. There may be an internal candidate that already has the job. There may have been budget cuts. There may be all kinds of reasons. So don't put them on the spot. Give them the opportunity to help you. Before you go in for one of these follow-up conversations, you want to do your homework. You don't want to waste the person's time asking them things that you could have found out another way. For example, you want to make sure that you've done your homework. You've researched the industry. You've looked up the trends. You've looked up the competitors for their company, for example. Some really great places to look are Standard & Poor's and Hoover's. These are reports done by financial companies, but there will be in-depth reports on different industries. The Standard & Poor's are published about every 6 months, so you can really get timely, up-to-date information on exactly what's going on in different fields. Again, you want to make sure that you've researched the company. If you're looking at a particular company, you've researched the company that the person is working for. You know what the strategy is. You know about the structure of the company and how it's been doing lately. A lot of great places to find this out would be, especially if it's a publicly held company, their letter to shareholders and other financial documents that are required to be public information. You can find out a lot about the company from these kinds of documents, so make sure to read those ahead of time. And then finally, you want to research the individual with whom you're going to be meeting. So obviously Google them and find out information about them, but you can also ask their assistant or somebody else that they work with how long they've been there, what their exact job title is. Some people have their resumes published online, so you can look at their publication list and find out a lot about them that way. So make sure to do your homework ahead of time so that you're not, again, wasting their time by asking questions that you could find out some other way. The types of questions that you may want to ask somebody in one of these follow-up conversations, you could ask them questions about the company. How is your company different from its competitors? Are you the low price leader? Are you the high quality leader? What is it that makes you different? What is the culture of your company? Again, are you, is this a mellow, laid back, been around for a long time company? Is it a dynamic, driven, startup company that's going to shoot to the top of the charts quickly? What is it like to work at this company? So you're not asking yes or no questions, but more opinion questions, things that are not facts that you couldn't find out other places. If it's a particular job that you're trying to get more information about, you could ask them about, what's your typical day? What are your main responsibilities? It could be that I'm really interested in a career in regulatory affairs. That sounds really exciting to me, so I find somebody whose job is in that field and say, you know, can we have lunch and tell me what is it that you do on a day-to-day basis so I can decide if this might really be something that I would like to pursue. You can ask them questions about themselves. You know, what do you like best about your job? What do you like least? How did you get it? Where do you expect to go from here? What do you wish you had known earlier in your career? As I said, people love to talk about themselves, and most people like to help other people, so they will be very happy to give you advice and to try to point you in the right direction. And finally, if it's somebody who knows you very well, you can ask them questions about your fit for a particular job or for a particular field. How might I get started in this field? What are some typical, you know, job titles and job functions that I should be looking at? You know, what kind of advice do you have for somebody who wants to get started in this field? And again, if they know you very well, you know, what are my strongest assets? You know, what are my selling points for looking for a position in this field? And again, you want to make it not sound like you're looking for a job, but you're really looking for ideas, information, and introductions. And that's really all you're hoping to get out of this conversation. So, okay, Leon and I are now going to demonstrate a networking conversation for you. We're going to pretend that we've just met. For example, maybe we're at the ACS meeting, which is taking place in Boston in a couple of months, and we're attending the same technical session, and so we're chatting at the coffee break in between sessions. Okay. So, Leon, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And since I can read her name tag, I will approach her at the coffee table outside this technical session. Okay. So I might walk up and say, "Hi, is it Leon? Is that your name?"
Yes. Hi, I'm Leon, and you are Lisa?
Yeah, Lisa Balvis. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How are you enjoying the conference today?
Oh, it's great. I found today's session particularly interesting.
Which session did you go to?
I was at the Biotechnology Startup Forum that was across the hall. It was just a morning session.
Did you get anything out of that?
I did. I'm an organic chemist, but I'm interested in moving into the biotech field, so I was trying to learn something about what kinds of skills and what new areas I might have to learn about in order to move my career in the biotech area.
Wow. Is there any key takeaways from that one? Or is it, let me look up on the schedule as well. What key takeaways do you feel that you have from that? Is there anything in particular?
Well, wishing that I had taken more biology in grad school. It's kind of late for that. But yeah, actually one of the speakers did pass out a reference list of some books, and so I'd be happy to send that to you after the conference if you want to give me your contact information.
That would be great. That would be great. Maybe I'm going to attend that session, and maybe I'll go over to the Expo Center and see if there's any biotech firms on the floor that I can ask questions about some of these things.
I would think there should be a number of them over there, especially since they're having an all-day session just on this topic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now,
Wow.
Was that the session that you were at, or were you at a different session?
I was at the ACS Careers session.
Oh, okay.
That Lisa's putting on for pharma versus bio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you learn from that?
Oh, I learned about the different careers and how the product, how an organization is structured, and how the product is developed and how it moves through the organization. So I learned a lot of key takeaways, and they did a comparison between the two. So it gave me a lot of good, solid information as I'm trying to decide which way I want to go.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize that they had workshops at the career fair. I thought it was all just interviews.
No. We have workshops, and there is some presenters, employers going to be presenting there later on today, too. So I want to go over there and listen to what they have to say.
Oh, excellent. Well, I will have to check that schedule out.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Give me your email so I can, give you a buzz, and we can connect after the conference, and maybe you can go to some sessions and I can go to others, and we can kind of see how we can pool our information, because I can't be everywhere and there's so many good things going on.
That's true. That would be great. Okay. And so at this point we would exchange cards, and we probably have our own sessions to go off to, but you can see just, talking up to somebody and, commenting on their name or on the food or, anything to kind of start a conversation.
It's also nice to have your own personal business card if you can have that done up.
Yes. Yeah, business cards are incredibly important. As we said earlier, you need to have them. If your company doesn't provide them, it's definitely worth going out and getting them printed up.
You can get them printed up pretty easy for yourself with your specialties.
Well, right, and in addition to just your contact information, you may want to put something on there about, your areas of expertise or what you're looking for. And I still remember I got a business card probably 4 or 5 meetings ago from somebody, and it had her, name and institution and contact information on the front, but on the back it said, 5 facts about, and I don't even remember her name, but it was, fact number 1, red hair. Fact number 2, interested in public policy. And it really, the card really stuck with me because it was very personal to her. It said exactly what she was looking for, and I still have it. And I come across a public policy, and I'm like, oh, yeah, wait, I know that person needs that, so I'll go look up her card and give it back to her. So, don't be afraid to put a little personal stuff on your card. It helps people remember who you are later on when they get home and they have that big stack of cards.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, as you can see, this was our directions for conducting a networking conversation. But really, it's just a conversation. You just do anything to kind of start the conversation. We asked questions about different industries, a little bit about companies. We talked about things personally. We exchanged cards so we could continue the conversation later on and share information. I especially liked Leon's questions about, well, what was the takeaway? What was the main message you got from that session? Since she couldn't be there, she was, picking my brain to use my experiences to her advantage. Okay? So to summarize what we've talked about, done a brief overview in the last hour, is talking about what's important for you to know in your job search. You need to know the trends in the industrial job market, if that's indeed where you're looking as opposed to academia or government. What are the trends in the particular sector in which you're looking? Is that a good place to be looking, or maybe not so much? You need to think about your personal values. What is important to you at this stage in your career, and how can you find a job that will let you meet your personal needs? We talked about some of the resources for actually finding jobs, published jobs, but also hidden jobs with networking conversations and just talking to people and building your professional network over the course of your career. And again, we cannot emphasize how important networking is. I will tell you, I have been a freelancer for going on 20 years now, and every job that I've ever gotten has been the result of networking. Nobody's ever just found my website and hired me. It's always they knew somebody who had worked with me, I had volunteered with them, they had some sort of connection that gave me a recommendation. I've talked to, numerous people who have found traditional jobs by networking, who have had jobs created for them because they talked to the right person at the right time. So networking is incredibly important throughout your career. So you're going to have to do it, so you need to get good at it. And the only way to get good at it is by practicing. Okay? And finally, you do have some resources that are available to you, especially if you're an ACS member. We've mentioned their employment services, the career fair, the jobs data bank. We have personalized career assistance. There's all sorts of workshops. At the same time next week, there will be another webinar on resumes and how to write resumes, effective scientific resumes. We have the workforce analysis, which we said will probably be published in November in Chemical Engineering News, will be the next big one of those. Some sections have local career programs and all sorts of career-related publications, which are on our website at acs.org/careers. So go there and check it out. And we have time for just a couple of questions. Okay. Let's see, did Leon find any that were especially interesting? Well, I'm skimming through here quickly.
Yep, I've been posting them. You see it?
I'm sorry?
Yep, I just did some for you.
Oh, you just did some in there. Okay. We have a question. How do you handle business cards if you are currently unemployed or unaffiliated? Again, you would print up a business card just with your home information. You don't have to say home. You could just include the email and a phone number. You don't have to include an address if you don't want to put your home address on there. You might include a few areas of expertise, something about what you're looking for, something more than just a name and address. You want people to know a little bit about what you're looking for. You could have your educational background. Somebody's asking, is it okay to have a picture on a business card? I personally think it's fine. You may have a little problem because in order to get a picture looking good that small, you might have to print them in color, which could get expensive. Some people are afraid to put pictures on there because they're afraid of discrimination, either because their picture shows them old, maybe older than they look, and they're afraid of age discrimination or something like that. So it's really, up to you if you want to include it on there or not. I personally would probably like it because I meet a lot of people, and a picture would help me remember who they are. I actually like pictures on LinkedIn profiles for that reason, because a lot of times I'll get a connection request, and I'll look at it and go, this name I don't know, and then I'll see the picture. Oh, wait, yes, now I remember where I met that person. But it's, it's a personal decision. There's pluses and minuses both ways. Okay. We have somebody who's currently employed but looking to switch industries, and he says that doing a quality job search is a full-time job in itself, so it's difficult to work full-time at your job while you're looking for another job. I agree. It's always difficult to look for a job, and it is almost a full-time job. Again, you have to do it. You can do, networking is one of the best ways to find other opportunities, and you can certainly do that while you're employed. Being employed gives you an excuse to talk to more people. So you may just have to set out time, to have lunches or dinners with people, or, some people will meet you on the weekends. But yeah, it is difficult, especially if you know that you need to add some new skills, take some classes or something. You might see if your current employer would support that. If it's something that's going to help in your current job as well, they may be amenable to, sending you to classes, or at least letting you have the time off to go take some classes if they think they're going to get some benefit from that as well. Okay, somebody's asking my opinion about LinkedIn. Actually, I love it. I think it's wonderful. It's actually the way a lot of people are being found these days, and I almost think you have to have a LinkedIn profile these days. There are privacy concerns, but LinkedIn is purely professional. So you're not going to include, for example, your home address or your home phone number or any of that thing. So it's really just like an online resume. So I haven't seen a whole lot of privacy issues with LinkedIn. Now with things like Facebook, where you're posting more personal information, things about what you do in your free time, there can be some more privacy issues there. Okay, I'm trying to go through these real quickly. I know I'm not going to get time for all the questions. Somebody's asking for salary information. I would refer you to the ACS Salary Comparator on the ACS website, where you can put in degree level, location, type of job, and it will tell you what people with that job typically make. So I would refer you to there. Okay, and I think we're going to have to close at that time because I know we're already past time. If you still have more questions that we didn't get addressed here, you can, again, either go to the ACS website, sign up as a job seeker, and find a career consultant, which is another ACS volunteer who will be happy to answer questions about career-related topics, or you can email them into careers@acs.org, and Leon will find somebody who knows the answers. Okay, and then Leon, do you want to say anything before we close out?
No, I want to thank everyone for attending. I hope you found this session informational, and we're open to any comments or anything you'd like to send to us. Again, ACS at careers.org. Let us know what you think. We're always interested, and we're here for you. Thank you. Lisa? Anything?
Okay. I would just echo thank you for everyone for attending. I hope you found it useful, and we hope to see you back here next week for tips on resume preparation.
All right. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.